Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second half of our doubleheader. First, we had the sports exchange earlier. Now we have Inside the Pigskin. You get it. And I am glad to have my crew here. Candy Ebling, welcome back, Candy.
Thanks, Scott. It's good to be here.
Travis Holmes, no relation to Sherlock. How you doing, Travis?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. I'm blessed and highly favored. Thank you for having me, sir.
And we're glad to have you back. Missed you, but we're glad you're back. You're a real big part of what we do here. And smoking Jeremy B with the MCDC is coaching. God, I'd like to know what that one is.
Motor City's Dan Campbell.
Oh, okay. Acronyms from the comic here. Okay. All right. And last but not least, I'll be handing the rock off to Mel Farr Jr. as we do a couple times a month during the season. He gets it once a week. And during the off season, he gets it twice a month. Welcome back, Mel.
Great to be back. Hello, guys and gal.
Thank you.
Well, just Candy, why don't you let everybody know at the beginning how they can find us?
There's that red subscribe button in the lower right corner. Please hit it, share, like, subscribe, be your 1,000th subscriber. If you want, please, you want to be on a show? Of course you do. Send us your ideas, and maybe you'll find you'll be a sixth person on one of these shows inside the pigskin. Send it to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you'd like to hear the audio version, head on over to wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio. Listen to us, like us, share us. Okay, back to you, Scott.
Thanks, Candy. Well, let me go over an overview here. We got some Jacksonville Jaguars stuff. Well, with Calvinridley, we're going to talk a little bit about Gardner Minshew, but we'll get right to it. So first of all, I'm going to lead it off with Mr. Jaguar himself, okay? All right, Travis, Calvinridley, reinstated by the NFL. How much more potent will the Jaguars offense be?
I mean, that's the question. That's really that. I think we all off season last year before this past season, everyone kept saying, "Hey, the Jaguars need to get their own, they need to get their own Jamar Chase. They need to get their own, Jefferson. They need to get their own guy to help to assist with this, Diggs from Buffalo. They need to get their own number one receiver to truly help Trevor Lawrence ascend to that next level. We didn't know that he would ascend to the next level without that true number one receiver. Like Christiankirk was a great receiver, but he is not that take the top off a defense kind of receiver. And now, after seeing what he did last year with that receiving core to get rid of, Marvin Jones Jr. and to replace that with the Calvinridley, oh yeah, that changes the ball game. And I think any reasonable football fan will say, okay, yeah, that's something else. That is a very nice receiving core all of a sudden to make Christiankirk your number two. Like, that's the piece that I'm focused on. Is like everyone's talking about Ridley, and Ridley's great, but that's the point I'm making is if Christiankirk's your number two, you're doing really well. And to have Zay Jones as your number three, like that core across the board is going to give a lot of defensive coordinators some true headaches next season. And I'm truly looking forward to it. So knock on wood, if all the reports that are coming out about, Ridley running 22.5 miles an hour currently, he's seemed to be in really good shape. I'm looking at his TikTok and his Instagram. Oh yeah, we might be cooking with something. So I'm just hoping, everything keeps coming out, all good reports. And when they start throwing in a few weeks, and let's keep this thing going.
Oh, Marvin Jones Jr. isn't bad either. I mean, come on, this guy provided much needed leadership in the locker room during the urbanmeyer situation.
Yes. And he's a wonderful number 2 to number 3 receiver. But my point is, if you change your number 2 to number 3 receiver into a true number 1 receiver, and now your old number 1, which is like a 1.5, is now your number 2. Like you're cooking with fire. You're cooking with something at that point. That's my overall point.
All I can tell you is Dougpederson has a good problem to deal with. So, but that said, MCDC, okay, we'll see what it is the next show. Give me your take on the Jaguars situation.
like I said, they have a 6-headed receiving monster once you throw in Jamal Agnew and Travisetienne. I mean,
And
who is
Evan Ingram.
Trevor and Evan? I didn't even. I'm just talking about the receiving. I didn't even add in tight ends. I'm just saying the receivers plus Travis Etienne, who's a great running back as well when he's used properly. The problem is you guys don't have a good pulling guard yet, so I hope you address that in the draft, because your one guard's good, but the other one that does the pulling going towards that left side, he tends to let Etienne get blowed up in the backfield.
Oh God,
Okay.
I'm trying to remember which one is he referencing.
What do you think, Mel?
That great right guard you signed that didn't play so great this past year.
Brandon Scherf. Gotcha.
Yeah, that anyways. The only thing I can hope for Calvin Ridley is that they locked out DraftKings and FanDuel off of his phone so he doesn't bet against other teams again.
Yeah, I hear you there. Good. Well, no, it's a good point. It is. All right, Mel, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's what they've done with the players that they have already, and adding a Calvin Ridley. You give the quarterback more weapons. Right now, they're in that window right now where they got a quarterback cheap, and this is when you got to capitalize on that. You build around them, give them the weapons, and see what you can do. And they play in a weak division. The division is up for grabs. So, they surprised everyone last year with the way that they played and making it to the playoffs last year. So they're looking to try to make a run. I mean, Dougpederson, I mean, he's been here before. He knows what it takes to get there and to win the whole thing. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to run his offense, get his type of people in there, his type of personnel in there. They're going to play good defense and give the quarterback weapons and take advantage of this window that they have right now where they got the quarterback on cheap and, maximize his abilities by giving him the receivers, the weapons that he needs in order to flourish. And like you said, like Travis and Jeremy said, you hadn't even mentioned, the tight end. I mean, he's really a wide receiver just playing the tight end position. I mean, the guy runs a 4-3-4-4 or something like that. So he's really a wide receiver. He's another target. He's another weapon. So you have so many weapons out there right now. Who do you double? Who do you double in that situation? We have those types of weapons. So it's going to open up the passing game, and it's also going to open up the running game as well.
Candy?
I think all these guys hit it on the nail on the head. Like they've bolstered their weapons, which is what they needed to do. Now, strengthen the O-line so that it's strong, so that you have time and you can make the holes for running backs. You'll be really good. Like Mel said, it's a weak division that helps them too. But yeah, you definitely have to take advantage of while you have a young quarterback on a young contract.
Yeah.
You have more room to add other players around you, whereas it gets harder, as you can see some of the other teams in the league with veteran quarterbacks that command the big salaries, that it's harder to bring in the weapons necessary.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm excited to see them play.
Well, and so is Will Vogel, too. I'll put his comment up real quick. I think the Jaguars are still going to be a good team. Yeah, they will. So
I am curious about what the negotiations eventually will look like with Trevor Lawrence, though. Apparently, he's been talking to a lot of the players and before the negotiation started and telling a lot of them, hey, do what needs to be done. Take a few hometown discounts if you need to try to keep the band together. Was the general consensus from the players. And if that is truly the case, then I am curious about what it's going to look like when it's Trevor's turn to start having those negotiations. Is he going to kind of do that same thing?
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. The only thing I'll say about the whole thing is Dougpederson, life is going to be nice when you get a statue outside of TIAA Bank Stadium when you get to the Super Bowl, should that time comes, because that is the most town when they're winning. And, I saw it firsthand, right, Travis? I was there for the Cowboys game, the Titans game, and the Chargers. And I'll tell you, we know that area can explode and will explode for sure. So.
Yes, sir.
So with that said, let's go on to where Lamar Jackson will go. All right. So why don't we go ahead and start again with Travis?
That's a much tougher question.
Don't make it easier. Come on.
I know. We previously talked about it a little bit, and wherever he goes, it's going to be a post-June 1st situation, because it has that minimum be after the draft, because no one's touching him as far as getting rid of their draft pick for this year. Like, that's highly unlikely at this point. However, it's quite possible that someone like maybe the Miami Dolphins chooses to bite that bullet with the thought process that they're going to have a late draft pick in 2024, something along those lines. Like any of the teams that maybe have a inconsistent quarterback, that would probably be my guess. Is I would think someone who's going to really shoot for it, who also is not like ridiculously cash strapped. Someone like the Dolphins made the most sense to me. If it's not the Dolphins, it starts getting a little bit more difficult out there. Like, who has a stacked team, or a reasonably stacked team, that can give him those kinds of funds? Like, I know originally he was offered, there were some conversations about some of the teams at least looking into him, like the Carolina Panthers and things of that nature. And I kind of question whether or not it would be one of those teams, because I don't know much about their coach, as far as the new coach coming in and the offense he's going to run, etc. But those are probably my top two guesses. Just someone like the Miami Dolphins, who is trying to just go for it, or maybe someone like the Carolina Panthers.
Well, Will Vogel seems to think it's the Atlanta Falcons, even though they got I don't know. We'll see. Well, interesting.
That'd be great to go from Michael Vick, the same franchise that had Michael Vick, and then end up getting Lamar. Would be, that'd be interesting.
Well, it's not like Arthur Blank can't afford it. Anytime you got a guy that owns, Home Depot, he's got deep pockets. He's willing to spend a couple bucks. So, all right, Jeremy, what do you think about Lamar?
I'm going to say it again. There's two teams at the top of the draft that both need quarterbacks, and if they don't trust a rookie coming out of college, they have the firepower to make the trade prior to the draft. That is Carolina and Houston.
Okay.
Houston.
Yeah, I think they both would make sense. Carolina.
I really hope it's not Houston. Again, Jags fan. I don't need that kind of drama in my life.
It'd be Deshaun Watson all over again.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I know. Well, I can understand where Travis is.
But with better running ability.
Keep that man out of the AFC South.
Yeah, I understand for obvious reasons.
There's one other team that nobody's mentioning that needs a good quarterback, because it looks like theirs might have to retire due to concussions. Tua, Miami.
Yeah, but the Dolphins have already said that they have no interest in him. I've already heard that. And they're shooting it down big time. I'm just saying, Jeremy, I live in the area, and I can tell right now that there's a lot of naysayers on the Dolphins. It wouldn't be bad. He's from this neck of the woods anyhow, so a homecoming of sorts would make sense. But anything that makes a lot of sense to the Dolphins, it really doesn't make too much sense. All right, Mel, I'll hand it over to you. Where's Lamar going?
I smell collusion. I think, and I would say that and feel a lot more confident about it if what happened last year didn't happen with Deshaun Watson, because that blows my whole theory out of the water, the collusion theory. Here you go. You got an MVP quarterback on the market, and there aren't any suitors, and you got a guy who's 39 years old. He won a Super Bowl. He's a little flaky. He's real selfish. And a lot of teams want him. And if I were the Jets, I would take Lamar Jackson over Aaron Rodgers if I were the Jets.
Right.
I don't need those kind of problems in my locker room. I don't need that headache in my locker room, because I guarantee you that experiment is not going to work out. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, that experiment will not work out, because Aaron he's a coach killer. He's one of those guys you call a coach killer, and that's who he is. He's a coach killer. He's all about Aaron Rodgers. That's the only person he cares about is
Aaron Rodgers.
But I really think that if it's not the Jets, I think Lamar overplayed his hand, and unfortunately, I think right now the owners are starting to realize that they need to reset this quarterback market. And they want to kind of use Lamar as the poster child for resetting this market. I think what we've seen is that you don't necessarily have to have that quote unquote elite quarterback to get to the Super Bowl or to win the Super Bowl. You look at what San Francisco was able to do with with Mr. Irrelevant. You look at what Philadelphia was able to do this past year with Hurts. You don't necessarily have to have that upper echelon quarterback to get to the Super Bowl. If you have somebody that's competent at the position, doesn't turn the ball over in crucial situations, you have a good running game, you play good defense, you have a chance to go places. Now you're going to have those Patrick Mahomes who have all that kind of talent. Well, everybody's not a Patrick Mahomes,
Right.
and Lamar is not a Patrick Mahomes. He's a talent, but he's more of a running back. They've made him more of a running back. And we know the shelf life on a running back is very, very short. I actually see him going back to Baltimore. I don't know. I think he's going to have to tuck his tail between his legs, and unfortunately he's overplayed his hand, and he's just going to have to, I think that's the best place for him, because not everybody's offense is designed for Lamar Jackson. You have to change your offense for Lamar Jackson. Not everybody's team is built that way. The Ravens are built that way. They understand that you don't need to have that upper echelon, upper tier quarterback in order to win, because they've done it with Joe Flacco and Trent Dilfer. They won Super Bowls with a great running game and a great defense. So they know the blueprint. They know exactly how they want to do this. And their heels are dug in. They're dug in where they're at. And, Lamar's going to have to come meet them there.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Mel, you don't believe that there is, because I know a lot of players, good GM, bad GMing. I mean, you may be a player, but you still have eyes, you still have ears, what's being said around, teams. You don't believe that there are, some bad GMs that's out there that kind of view Lamar as a cheat code, if you know what I mean? Like a bad GM getting a good quarterback buys a bad GM 3-4 years. Generally, it's
True.
easier to build. It's easier to buy a quarterback than it is to build a team. If you know what I mean. Like, you don't think there's a bad GM sort of like Cleveland giving Deshaun that contract that would take a chance to try to save the job? I guess.
I don't know if that was the GM or ownership that did that. I mean, to do that, you had the owner had to sign off on that deal.
That's fair.
Why you bailed out Houston? Why would you do that? I mean, there's so many reasons why I don't understand why that deal happened.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother show. Obviously there's not, because nobody's biting. I mean, the bait's out there. You got a big old worm on the end of the hook, and nobody's biting. I mean, they're not even getting a nibble. There's nobody nibbling.
Right. All right, turn over.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying yet. I think it's going to happen though.
I'm on the farm that availability is the best ability. The reason why he got the non-exclusive tag is because it's $33.5 million and not $42.5. So they are keeping him right there because nobody's going to trade for him, because until he plays a full season and not get damaged, they don't want him.
All right, Candy.
I agree. I think he's staying right where he's at, Baltimore. I don't think anybody else. I mean, I honestly think it'll be interesting to see. I know the Packers and Jets have been fighting over money for Aaron Rodgers, and I get Love is there, but you need a backup too. So it'll be interesting when and if Aaron goes, like if Green Bay lets him, depending on how much money they are, because they're
I'd make Green Bay pay the whole thing. I wouldn't pay a quarter. I mean, I'd make them pay a large portion of it if I were the Jets. I mean, the Jets are acting like they're holding two deuces.
Right.
They hold the cards on this deal. Everybody's saying now because Aaron Rodgers made his decision, that the Packers hold the cards. No, they don't. The Jets can say the heck with it, man. Let him retire. We'll go get somebody else. We don't need this. Right. I wouldn't give more than a third-round draft pick for Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to have to pay the majority of that salary.
But the Jets are behind the 8 ball on the time.
No, you don't need.
Well, I'm just saying the timing.
There's an incompetent owner right there. I mean, an incompetent GM, because they think that Aaron Rodgers is the answer. And the unfortunate thing about this is that a young coach is going. He's going to be tied to this decision, and this decision, him and Aaron Rodgers are going to be tied to the hip. If this doesn't work, he's going to lose his job, and he won't get another head coaching opportunity. I can assure you of that.
No.
So, and that's the sad part of this. And I see this not working. Aaron is not coachable. Okay.
Yeah.
He's a coach killer. Right now, he thinks he knows more than everybody.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
No, I played under Matt LaFleur at Northern Michigan University. He's an incredible coach. And that's the fun part about this is I know he's a great coach, and I know Aaron. If Aaron didn't work under that guy, he's probably going to get someone fired, no matter what this next stop is going to be. I told a student of the game, Kyle Nash, this 2 days ago. I guarantee this is going to work out just like Nate. Huh?
He got Mike McCarthy fired. He was going to get LaFleur fired. I mean, he's on his way to getting fired, but he's gone now. And he's going to get fired because of Aaron Rodgers.
All right. So Candy, let me go back to this real quickly, and then I'll give you my thoughts on Jackson, and we'll pick up this Packers thing in a second. So, all right, Candy, what's your take on?
He stays in Baltimore.
Okay. Well, the only thing I'm going to say about this whole thing is, thanks, Jeremy. You took the words out of my mouth. Really? No, I mean, availability. If you can't stay healthy, you can't stay healthy. I'll also reference what Mel said, okay? And the reality is availability is everything here. And I think the offer, if indeed it is true, where he got 3 years, $133 million, $40 million a year, and the worst thing is you have to understand, okay, that the guy can be, hear me out, Travis, okay, that the guy could be franchise tagged twice. So in retrospect, you have 3 years and 2 franchise tags is what you'd be looking at. So, I mean, the whole thing with Lamar Jackson is, the non-exclusive tag was the right thing to do because, hey, we'll put you out there and whatever. If you can get a better offer, we'll match it. So we're inviting somebody to do the work for us in terms of what your value is. And if we want to keep you, and that number is a fair amount, then by all means, we'll definitely go ahead and do it. So, I think it was the right call. And again, nobody wants to be letting the Cleveland Browns dictate the quarterback market, and no owner wants to make the same mistake with Deshaun Watson. So, and you're right, Mel, it'll set the precedent that nobody wants to go back to the old thing where as soon as we got to leapfrog that individual. No, they don't do that. And you're right, Mel, it's about using Lamar Jackson as the example.
You have to agree, Baltimore is a different organization. I mean, Daniel Jones got paid, and he's not Lamar Jackson. Every other quarterback gets their money. Josh Allen got his money. Patrick Mahomes got his money. Everybody's getting their money. But Baltimore is a little bit of a different animal. And, I don't know if it's because of what Lamar is asking or if it's Baltimore just digging their heels in. I don't know exactly what it is. But what I know is a franchise quarterback has always gotten their money, other than Kirk Cousins, but he wasn't really viewed as a franchise quarterback, but they had to pay the guy. But franchise quarterbacks get paid, period. End of story. They work it out. They figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah, but the only variable in this situation, I'm with you. Baltimore's they run their organization very smart. You got John Harbaugh, Ozzie Newsome's in there. Steve Bisciotti's a very good owner. He'll pay his people. But the only really lingering thing here that I think that he would get the money is his availability only.
I'm in total agreement with you there.
Yeah, I think he'd get paid if he wasn't injury prone.
But that's part of the scheme that they run.
The way they use him.
Yeah, they run him a whole lot. That's not his fault.
Listen, I'm agreeing with everybody. It's the one thing we probably all agree on is availability and being injury prone. How you use them is another story. But the last thing you want to do is have a contract so high that you end up eating a lot of money, and then it's a tough economic situation. All right. I think
this is going to end up being very similar to the Deebo Samuel contract negotiations, where it got a little messy, it went a little haywire, but at the end of the day, they're going to figure out how to make that work and sign him. But they did originally that 3 years, $133 million is not a good offer. You franchise tag him 2 years in a row, that's $75 million.
Well, but the reality of the situation, if you're paying a quarterback $40 million a year, that's not Latrell Sprewell territory. You can feed your family for this.
But if he's looking for a fully guaranteed contract, which I heard he's not, that's unrealistic. I mean, Deshaun Watson, that's an anomaly. Let's forget that. Let's forget about that. You need to set your sights on Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson. what those guys got paid, and then you want to leapfrog them. That's where you want to be.
But they offered him less than Kyler Murray. No, that's what no one's saying. Like, it's the weirdest thing. Like, that was less than Kyler Murray's contract.
Right.
He's obviously better.
Kyler Murray got paid. He's nowhere near as good as Lamar. And his availability is questionable. Now, maybe that's because of, he plays for the Cardinals too.
That's a really apt comparison. That's all I'm saying, is that it wasn't a great offer by Baltimore.
Hey, listen, all your opinions are on target. It just depends on how you interpret it, where it's going to go. I just say the non-exclusive tag will dictate Lamar Jackson's value, and we'll see it out. We're not going to solve this negotiation on one show, and in 2 weeks we'll see where it lands there. So I'd like to think it was that easy, but nothing in the media is that easy. All right. Before we turn it into a 3-hour show, let's go ahead and talk about the old Green Bay Packers. Everybody's doing it anyways. Now we'll officially go on to it. So I only have one question about the subject. One question, okay? And all right, Travis, you've been starting off on everyone. We're going to let you start again. How long will the Green Bay Packers let Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets sit in limbo? Because that's really what it comes down to, compensation, okay? Sit in limbo are the key words here in this whole thing. Travis?
I mean, the Packers don't have to be in a rush, honestly.
Right.
And I know a lot of people say that the Jets hold all the cards, and I actually disagree fully. I think the Packers hold all the cards because they know the Jets have to. If the Jets want Aaron Rodgers to be in their playbook, to be in their locker room sooner than later, and as a quarterback, you do, then you want this to be done before that June 1st deadline. Like, June 1st is when the Packers have to make that decision, because his salary goes from the whatever it was, 30-something million to 40-something million. That's when it jumps. So at the end of the day, that's their timeline, which is after the draft. From that perspective, they hold the cards until that time frame. So it's a game of chicken at that point. And that's the reason I say they're probably going to get what they want or something close to it. They may have to pay some of the salary just because of that knowledge. But I think with that being said, like, if the Jets really want Aaron Rodgers in that locker room, working out with the players, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, after the draft, that's probably when it's going to happen.
Fair enough. Okay. And before I go to Jeremy, Travis, I just want to get your opinion on this one. Since you're up there, thoughts about Gardner Minshew going to the Colts?
Like, I don't know. He followed S-word guy. He followed the new coach. The offensive coordinator from Philly. And I don't know what to think of it, because Gardner was always a great guy who's solid enough and he knows the system. He's going to give you, a 2, 3, 4 game winning streak if he's off the bench. It's not obviously not. He shouldn't be your starting quarterback, because we've seen that, but he can absolutely give you a bridge while you get the next guy ready. Solid situation. Hey, man, make that money, legend at the bank, and he's great for Instagram and keeping the fans riled up. So good for him. But as far as the starting quarterback, I have no concerns. Let's say it that way.
All the guy's going to do is be a bridge quarterback for the rookie. Anybody else can chime in on this really quickly before I turn it over to Jeremy on the Packers situation? Anybody else? Well, Jeremy, you want to talk about Minshew real quick?
Minshew?
Yeah.
Uncle Rico?
Yeah, Uncle Rico. All right.
Minshew mania died when he lost just before in that playoff game. Come on now.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Candy?
Minshew mania. I miss Gardner, but good for him. Good for him.
What about you, Mel?
No, don't. I mean, I think competition is good. I think that's good. I think they bring some guys in there and they let them compete, and the best quarterback wins. You don't have this, whoever plays the best. I mean, Gardner Minshew had some good days, but I mean, he is what he is. I mean, he's gonna throw 50% touchdowns, 50% interception. He's gonna have a 50-50 touchdown to interception ratio probably.
Okay. All right, now we'll go on to Jeremy, and I want to just keep it to this question, Jeremy. All right. I'll say it again. How long will the Green Bay Packers let Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets sit in limbo? I repeat, sit in limbo.
It could be as long as June 1st, so the dead cap hit is not as bad for the Packers.
Okay.
But if the Jets are willing to come off of some of that money that they have in free agent in their cap room, it could happen sooner. But they're going to have to cover probably at least a quarter of that for even the Packers to go, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, Mel, who holds all the cards? Green Bay?
I believe the way I look at it is the Jets hold all the cards because they don't have to do the deal.
Right.
Now, they're so desperate right now, and they're acting so desperate. I mean, I know this is a PG show, but man, I tell you, the desperation. They've shown all their cards right now, and they're going to have to, unfortunately, if they want Aaron Rodgers, they're going to have to do pretty much whatever Green Bay says. And that just shows you what type of organization that they are. They're just not very strong organization. And that's ownership on down. Because obviously this is an owner's decision. I mean, he flew out there and he went out there and they did whatever they did with Aaron Rodgers and and recruited him or whatever, wined and dined him. And, obviously he's on board, and he said it last year that he would spend whatever kind of money he had to spend to get a franchise quarterback. So he's on record as saying that. So, unfortunately, they can drag this out as long as they want. At some point in time, I think they could drag it out a little bit too long, and the Jets could pivot because, again, Lamar Jackson's out there, and he really kind of fits what it is that they're trying to do. They have a great defense. You just need a competent quarterback, get a good running game, and you're there.
All right. Well, nobody's more. Well, and now we have our Wisconsin girl, right, Can?
Yes. The Packers can hold out till week 1. Week 1 is when the guarantee becomes. And actually, they could hold out, to be honest with you, before he went into his darkness retreat, he was told that he was wanted back in Green Bay. So the Green Bay could take him back, play him. Or they could take him back and sit him. Now, that would be really expensive guy to sit on the bench, but they could do that. They don't have to trade him. They want a lot of money. They're trying to see if the Jets will do it. Yet the problem is the Packers have to decide if they're going to if they're going to trade him, what's the bottom line that they're going to accept for him, and then they're going to move on, because right now they're losing a lot of their other free agents, whether they wanted to keep them or not. But it makes a big difference, because what salaries are you going to pay and what other weapons are you going to give Love if you do let Aaron go? And if you don't let Aaron go and he stays, who do you have around him to field the team?
Right. All right. The only thing I'll say about the whole thing is I do believe that Green Bay holds all the cards. And you know what? And the reason why I say that is, you know what? You can say you're Aaron if you know, but we're going to get what we're going to get. And since Aaron's held a franchise hostage for a while, not a little payback doesn't hurt either. So, if I were Green Bay, I'd hold out as long as you can until they get the compensation that they feel, is what which is acceptable to them. But I do believe the Packers hold all the cards. And you know what, Mel, you're right. Okay. The New York Jets are a desperate organization. If you want them bad enough, you'll get them. And Lamar Jackson could be. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. The only thing I'll say is until this thing is solved, I'll be seeing an awful lot of Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp, and Colin Cowherd, because those guys' opinions are interesting and they really keep it real. So
let's also remember what the Detroit Lions did when they traded Matthew Stafford, and what did they get in return? Because I think the Packers are looking at that too and saying, okay, yeah, maybe we're not going to get as many first-round picks, but then we need money to compensate us instead.
Matthew Stafford was much younger.
Well, that's it. The age thing, Katie, the age. Let's be realistic here. The age thing is interesting, but you know what?
He wanted to play. He wasn't every year vacillating about whether he wants to play or not. He wasn't going to darkness retreats and stuff like that. See, Aaron he's single. Aaron, and there's a reason why he's single, because he's selfish. Okay, he doesn't want to reciprocate.
Right.
Oh, I forgot this is
this
is a PG show.
He's
selfish.
Well, all I can say is a diva, but you know what, Candy? Now that the situation is appropriate, I want you to tell us what your brother Steve said about this. This will really throw the crew into it.
What did he? Oh, he said, "Watch just like Brett went to the Jets, then he went to Minnesota. Instead of Rodgers going, he's going to go to the Jets, and then
we don't want him. We don't want him in Detroit.
That is exactly where we were going.
We don't want him in Detroit.
We don't need his expensive diva ass in Detroit.
Right. He don't. He don't fit.
All I'm gonna say about,
I can't help it. I loathe Karen Rodgers.
Listen, all I'll say about it is this, okay? Whether you like it or you don't, we've been around the game long enough to see that crazier things are happening. Noah will never go into Chicago because he thinks he owns the Bears and they don't want him. But why not go to Detroit, who beat him in the last game of the year? I don't want him there either.
For the sake of all of you, I hope he goes to Detroit. I need that kind of chaos.
We're a blue collar team, man. He doesn't want to roll up the party.
He doesn't work.
Yeah. All I can tell you is I believe the Lions really enjoy Goff, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him draft a quarter.
We like Goff. We're happy with Goff. He got to make a couple more throws, but other than that, we're happy with him.
You mentioned Chicago. I got to say something here because I've heard a lot of fans. They're thinking that the Bears are going to take Behan at 9 when the best tackle/guard in this draft will be available. If they draft Behan, he better get to a missed tackle rate as good as David Montgomery, who just left there to come to Detroit. Otherwise, he's going to have issues running through that O-line just like Montgomery did. There's a reason why he only got 800-plus yards a year. He should have had 1,200, but their O-line's trash.
Yeah, but they also ran the ball a lot. Justin Fields ran the ball a lot, too.
But what I'm saying is yards? It's kind of hard. The reason why he had a high missed tackle rate, those 4 yards per carry he got, he was tackled 12 times each time he carried the ball because the O-line didn't block. Come on now.
The one last interesting thing is if Aaron does go to the Jets and the Jets and the Packers have the same in the season and the same record with the same standings in their divisions, they will actually play each other in 2024, which means the Jets would come to Lambeau to play, and Aaron would play against his old team. It is the only team, obviously, he's never won against.
Aaron's not committed. When he said he was 90% retired when he went into the darkness, he's already mentally checked out. He's retired.
Well, I'll just say two things. I want to move on to the next topic. Number one, Aaron, if you want to do a commercial for a Waffle House, I'm sure they would love to have you, number one, because waffling is what you do good. And number two, Aaron, okay, I only have one thing to say. Good luck to you with the New York media. They will carve you like a turkey at Thanksgiving. And
he's the smartest guy in the room. He's got that.
Yeah, well,
he's a media darling. He'll be fine for the first 6 months he's there. Yeah. It'll be the first time he does something stupid, just like it was in that playoff game when Mark Sanchez had the butt fumble. The media will crucify him.
Well, they will crucify him. No. I wouldn't be surprised to see it, let him have him in the preseason and give him a preview of what he's in for the regular season. But we'll save this topic as the Aaron turns, okay? And that's a soap opera that we're about to deal with, all right? So we're going to go from a diva to a Baker, as in Baker Mayfield, who signed with the Tampa Bay Bucks, okay? And here's the thing. We don't have to spend a million years on this one, but when you think about the fact that Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield were traded from their initial homes, I actually don't mind the signing of Baker Mayfield by the Tampa Bay Bucks, as you know, it's a one-and-done deal anyways, and you need some competition. But I'm going to go to you, Travis, first. What do you think of the signing of Baker Mayfield to Tampa?
Man, like you said, it's a likely one-and-done situation where, and for a quarterback who has tremendously underachieved, I think that's the fairest way to say this for Baker's career so far. The team in and of itself is also, as we saw last year, even under Tom Brady, the team's not going to play better for Baker Mayfield than they played for Tom Brady. And Tom was falling off a cliff. Don't get me wrong. There was many throws that he couldn't make. Far side of the field, deep outs, comeback, things of that nature. Like he really struggled to make those throws. But Baker's probably an equal to, if not worse, quarterback than even an aging or falling off a cliff Tom Brady. They're not going to be better. And that's with them losing guys on that roster, and they've only gotten a year older. Like that whole situation is a truly rough spot. Like I don't know how that team's going to win very many games, and it stinks because I was really hoping, after Bruce Arians, went into the ownership mode or went into what is he now, like the president, executive, something along those lines. Yeah, I really was hoping after he went into that role that it still would work out for Byron Leftwich and is it Frazier? I'm trying to remember who their head coach is. I'm drawing a blank.
Who?
Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles. There you go. Goodness gracious. And I was really hoping it was going to work out for them, but it just seems like they're absolutely open to this being a rebuild, and because that's what that signing says to me. Hey, this is your last year, and we know we're not going to hire anyone better, so we're going to keep you on as the head coach. But we know after this season, when you absolutely don't go 500, and they're not, then we're going to get rid of them and kind of start over when there's not 8 coaching hires.
Okay, Jeremy?
Baker Mayfield, the only thing he did was make the Lions draft pick a little worse by going to the Rams, but he did get himself a job because Kyle Trask is not ready, and I knew he wouldn't be ready for the NFL. He just did not have that NFL look to how he threw the ball. It might be an okay pickup as long as they draft somebody this year to mold and move forward, and I'm not saying they got to get him in the first round. They ain't even got to get him in the second round. You can draft a quarterback anywhere as long as you're willing to develop them. And then you can use Baker to get better weapons to replace everybody you can't afford to pay anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Mel?
I like it. Baker went out to L.A. and played well on short notice. He's a gamer. He's not afraid to throw the ball. You got that division is a winnable division. I mean, you got Derek Carr in New Orleans now. You got Ritter and whoever went the kid from Washington. That's what Atlanta now.
Hinkie?
Huh?
Tyler. What is it? Hinkie?
Yeah, him. And then Carolina, who I don't think they have a quarterback right now. So it's a division that they can win. Unfortunately, they're going to have a lot of dead cap that they're going to have to deal with because of Tom Brady retiring. That's going to make it difficult for them. They've already had to let a few players go on the offensive line. So that's going to be something they're going to have to deal with. But it's teams do that. When you go all in and it doesn't work out, you're going to have to deal with it. Just like the Jets are going to have to deal with it. They go all in for Aaron Rodgers, you're going to pay for it. Somewhere down the line, you're going to pay the piper. You may not pay me today, but you're going to pay me later. So you pay me now or pay me later. You're going to pay later. So right now, hey, the Bucs got a championship out of it. We want to see Todd Bowles. Obviously, I would like to see Todd Bowles do well, but he's going to have to coach. He's going to have to do a great coaching job. They're going to have to play better defense than they played last year. I think they'll be good enough on the offensive side of the ball. In that division where they can do some things, because that division is a little suspect. They have an opportunity there. Not a lot of people like Derek Carr. We know he's real careful with the football. New Orleans has got a very good defense. They're going to be very, very tough. Derek Carr is a serviceable quarterback. Atlanta finished off tough last year, and Carolina, they got a whole new regime there. So that that division, they have an opportunity to win that division, and once you get into the postseason, anything can happen.
Yeah, right now Carolina has Andy Dalton for 2 years as a bridge quarterback.
Oh, that's right. They hired Andy Dalton. They brought in Andy Dalton.
Oh, so they brought in the beige water pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, Andy Dalton's with the Carolina Panthers. That's all you need to know. All right, Candy, some thoughts?
The Buccaneers, remember, are also installing a new offense under new offensive coordinator Dave Canales, who was largely credited with helping revive Geno Smith's career in Seattle.
Right.
So maybe he can do that with Baker some. We don't know. He had a remarkable influence. Let's face it. Let's see. Baker completed almost 64% of his passes in those 5 games with LA. So let's, good for him.
Do you know why that is, though?
Why?
Because McVay came from the same coaching tree that the guy in Cleveland was from. The only thing that changed was a couple of words in the verbiage. The plays were all basically the same, so it wasn't that hard of a learning curve for him to catch
Carolina
on.
for a minute, though. You forgot that little stopover in Carolina. Had a little
that little bump in his career.
Yeah, he had a little layover in Carolina.
Yeah, he had a layover.
All right, the only thing I'll say about this whole thing is, number one, Baker Mayfield to me is a low risk move. Why not put him in there, give him a chance to revitalize his career in Tampa? You got everything to gain, nothing to lose with it. It's not like they're paying him a boatload of money. And number two, I do think Kyle Trask is going to be fine. Now that Tom Brady's out of there, it's a low budget bridge move, and I'm totally okay with what the Bucs are doing. All right, well, I'll tell you what. On Ezekiel Elliott, released after 7 years, where will he land? You know what, Travis? You started us off, and let's talk about Zeke.
Man, you gotta stop going to me first. I gotta think about this one, man. Where is Zeke going?
Well,
you know what?
Well, the next one.
Cancun.
Well, yeah, because he should take some time off. I mean, like really, it sounds funny, but yeah, man, he's been overworked that man's whole career. But at the end of the day, he could absolutely, fall to. Well, I say fall to. He could be what Jamal Williams was for the Detroit Lions. He could be I would say what David Montgomery was for Chicago, but he was actually a much better back at creating missed tackles. But he could be that short yardage guy for fill in the blank, an innumerable number of teams, because Zeke was really good when he was healthy as far as converting on short yardage runs. He was top 5 in the league. It's just when he was healthy was the question this past season. So he could be that for a lot of teams, whether that be, seeing what happens over in LA for the Chargers. Maybe they end up going with the timeshare or something along those lines. But again, there's a lot of teams who could absolutely use a short yardage back. Hell, us in Jacksonville, we could absolutely use another a short yardage back to pair with Travisetienne, because he's a speedster. But there's a lot of teams who could absolutely use him, depending on what that contract looks like. And that's going to be the biggest kicker, because he's been used to being overpaid his whole career. Maybe he's ready to go to a team that's going to win, and that's looking for just that extra piece. Again, that Jamal Williams role. I won't say like a Kansas City, but that's kind of what my head's at, like a Jacksonville, like a Kansas City, something like that. Someone who's solid, but also needs a short yardage back.
All right, well, I'll go to my other running back here, Mel Farr. Where do you think Zeke's going to go?
To the house. He's going home. He's got nothing left in the tank. I think he's got a knee problem, kind of like Todd Gurley. The last couple of years we've heard about this knee. He had a knee problem last year, 2 seasons ago. Then this last year, Jerry Jones talking about he was, playing with a knee injury. I think he's done. I mean, the burst is no longer there. A guy told me he looks like one of those biscuit cans when you pop it open. Have you ever opened it? Yeah, with his little short shirt and stuff like that, and say he ain't got a 6-pack. He looks like one of the biscuit cans when you pop it open. Zeke, once he got paid, he stopped working out. I mean, I'm 56 years old. On first and goal from the inch line, I can get in there. I can close my eyes and get in there still. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. You're not going to pay a guy a whole lot of money to do that, are you? I think he's done. And if I was Zeke, I'd be happy. I mean, he's had a great career, made a lot of money, and that's the most important thing. He made a whole lot of money. He beat Jerry Jones at his own game. Jerry blinked, and Jerry paid him. And, hey, he's set for the rest of his life. So I'd be done, because there's no reason for him to play. Is a championship team going to want him? Is Kansas City going to want him? I doubt it. Philly, I doubt it. No, is there a team that's that people think that San Francisco? I don't think so. So I'd go into the house and call it a career.
What do you think, Jeremy?
No.
What do I think?
Yeah.
I think Zeke needs to take a vacation in Tibet. He needs to go find some Shaolin monks and sit there for 6 months and find himself again because he looks lost. He's not the same player. Every once in a while, you'll see a game where he breaks out and has a good one, and then he goes right back to crap for 4 or 5 games in a row. He isn't finding himself. There's something going on with him mentally, and he needs to fix that.
He's done. He's washed up. He's got a bad knee or something. Something's wrong with him.
Right.
I mean, would you play for $4 million a year? Basically, that's the question, because that's about the going rate. That was what Jamal Williams got on his 3-year contract. Essentially, wait.
Jamal
James
Williams
Robinson got.
That's
James
because both of them are not on the same level as Zeke.
You and me, $4 million is a lot of money, but for Zeke, man, just getting paid $15 million last year to do what he did.
Bingo. And that's my real question, because James Robinson looked like a shell of himself for the Jets.
I mean, he wasn't working out for $15 million. You think he's going to work out for $4 million?
Yeah, right. No, come on, Travis, you're talking to our running back here. When are you going to realize that Mel carried the rock?
He's going to come in. He's going to look like the bus when he reports to training camp.
Oh no, you don't know. That Mel's making a perfect point. That's kind of what I was getting at. He's going to take a significant pay cut. He maybe he's right. Maybe he does take it home.
I don't know. All right, Candy.
Is there a market for him too?
What do you think? You think Buffalo?
No.
Cincinnati?
No.
The Bears?
No.
The Chargers?
If they want an old, slow running back, they could hire me. Nobody wants an old, slow running back.
Well,
He ain't that old. He's what, 27, 28?
He's old in running back years. They age differently.
Jamal Williams is 28 and just basically broke.
But he's
Barry
a
Sanders.
he's a good locker room guy. He's going to work hard. All those kind of things. I'm not saying that Zeke doesn't work hard. I really believe he's hurt. Like Todd Gurley. I mean, he hung around as long as he could, but eventually it just didn't make any sense.
Todd Gurley's knees were bad when he came in the NFL. That's the problem he had.
But I mean, he was able to. He did some great things, and then he started bothering him a little bit.
But you know what?
The Rams got off of him.
I will say one thing: Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley both had better knees than Kerryon Johnson had coming into the league.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Kerryon Johnson, I never particularly cared for Kerryon Johnson. Let's not even go there.
Oh,
I know.
Hey, Jeremy, listen, leave that one alone.
No.
Hey, you intrigued me when you mentioned Cincinnati. I was thinking he could go the home state route if it wouldn't be Cincinnati. What about the Cleveland Browns?
Don't they have Chubb on a rookie contract still?
No, Chubb. They're paying Chubb a little bit.
Oh,
they're paying him, and then they got the other guy there too. Hunt.
Kareem Hunt. Is he still on the contract? He's gone.
Hunt's gone.
But then they had the third. They had the third back. Remember him? Like I forgot. I'm forgetting his name.
The guy they drafted like 5th or 6th round 2 years ago. Yeah,
and he played well for 3 games.
Where Kareem Hunt?
Well, the only thing I'll say about it is I thought about the Browns, but I will say one thing, Mel. Frank Gore entered the NFL with
different kind of guy.
Well, but hold on. Okay, I agree with you, but Frank Gore entered the league with bad knees, and thankfully he had a good career. Doesn't mean it always happens that way. Willis McGahee, he also entered the league with,
his career didn't last long either.
Well, all right, but you know what, though? I agree. Now, with all due respect, you are right. 7 years for Ezekiel.
Frank Gore stayed in impeccable shape. Heck, he's boxing, folks, now at 50 years old.
Wait. Frank Gore also started out an injury-prone player, just like Zeke did in his second contract with San Francisco. And then when they let him go, he broke his ankle. He had a bad knee one year. He had busted ribs another year. He was called fragile.
Yeah.
But he worked hard.
But he worked hard. He got his body in shape after that ankle.
He never got paid that big money like Zeke's getting paid.
He never did. And no running back should. It's not a running back league anymore.
Not anymore. No,
he said that to a running back.
It's devalued. It's devalued in the NFL.
Hey, stop all that. The running back touches the ball more than anybody other than the quarterback, and they want to talk about devaluing the running back. Stop it. They want to pay a wide receiver $20 million, $25 million to catch the ball 6-7 times a game. Stop. Running back gets the ball 25, 30 times a game. You want to devalue him?
Some running backs get the ball 20 times a game.
Says it's dangerous. Stop. That's why they should get
there's some running backs that shouldn't get the ball 20 touches a game, and one of them is Ezekiel Elliott. The other one is DeAndre Swift, because every time they do it, they get hurt.
When Zeke came in the league, he was toting it.
When he came into the league, but once he got that second contract and came in looking like he was doing his best impression of Eddie Lacy.
Oh, man. Let me tell you, if I keep quiet in this whole thing, I got a topic that will allow me to save my voice and not get laryngitis. You guys are all hitting the dead. I will always say one thing, okay? Candy, what I need you to do is my crack researcher, go out there right now and look up the last time that a running back was taken first overall in the draft. Okay? It's been a while. But watching every one of you, Candy, Travis.
I know Saquon was 2.
And Mel, hold on, let me finish, okay? All right. I enjoy this back and forth. I have a front row to this. I
think it was Ricky Williams, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he was taking number 1, though, was he?
Yeah, because Mike Ditka gave up everything in the future to get to number 1 to get him.
Did he?
Let Candy do the research and quit debating here. All I can tell you, Ricky Williams retired because Dave Wannstedt ran him to the ground and he'd had enough.
Ricky Williams retired because he was getting in trouble for smoking marijuana all the damn time.
He didn't want to come back because Dave Wannstedt ran him to the ground. Listen, Jeremy.
Barry didn't even go number 1, but is that an indictment on Barry?
No, that's not what we're saying.
Didn't go number 1.
Well, remember, Leonard Williams, though, okay, Mike Ditka traded an entire draft in New Orleans to go ahead and get this guy. So, I know we're really going in some interesting territory here, and we have one more topic before we go to parting shots. And on tonight's version of parting shots, nobody's going to have to comment on everybody's. We're just going to give it one across the board. But Candy's looking it up. I think it's a great topic. I didn't think we would have this much fun talking about Ezekiel Elliott. 7 years. Now, I'll say one thing about Ezekiel Elliott. You'll probably get his name in the Ring of Honor.
Kajana Carter.
Carter.
That was a long time.
Man, I remember playing with him on the Tecmo Bowl. Goodness.
That was Tecmo Bowl 2. Not even 3. That wasn't even the good one.
Was that?
95.
So there you go. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Let me just say
he got hurt in preseason.
Right. And I was mad. I was mad when the Jaguars drafted Leonard Fournette at number 4. And I'm like, that's not that's let you know. Most of the time these guys aren't gonna.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you this, okay? I will say this, Travis. Well, I saw Fournette play, and when you're dealing with Tom Coughlin and some of the dysfunction that they had there, Fournette didn't do bad. Oh, come on, Travis. I know you're covering the Jaguars, so have I, and I know all this, but Leonard Fournette wasn't bad. I will say one thing, though, before we close on Ezekiel Elliott. This has been a lot of fun talking about this. I didn't think it'd be this much fun. That Ezekiel Elliott will get his name in the Ring of Honor before Jimmy Johnson because Jerry Jones likes him a lot more than Jimmy Johnson.
That may be. But that's also because Jerry Jones still has his head shoved up where the sun don't shine and ain't pulled it out yet.
Listen, I totally get that. But you know what? This has been so much fun. When I pulled this topic, I didn't think we'd have this much fun, let alone talking about Kajana Carter and some of the people that we've had. So great. I love the dialogue, everybody had. This is really classic stuff. All right. Well, you know what, Travis, this should be an easy one for me to call on you first. Okay. Really easy. And that says Jalen Ramsey going to the Miami Dolphins. What are your thoughts about that one?
Hey, man, Jalen Ramsey was my favorite NFL football player. And I'm not ashamed to say it at all. So I was happy for the man, get that money. His plan worked generally the best you're going to hope for. He left the team. I'm a Jaguars fan. Let me say that clearly. But he left the very toxic, at the time, Jaguars front office to go to the Rams. He got his championship. He got his contract that he was looking for. His Brinks truck, that he brought to the training camp for the Jaguars that the season beforehand. He got that. He got the Brinks truck. He got his championship. And as soon as they had their first bad season, he got shipped back out to the sunny state of Florida, back to Miami. That's probably the best you're going to hope for. you're going to another team who wants you. They obviously traded for you. You keep that same contract. Like, hey, that's probably the best plan you can hope for. You're going to someone who's a solid team, who's a contender. Yeah. Hey, man. Good job.
Well, I'll say
Legend
one
at the bank.
Before I turn over to Jeremy, I'll say one thing about Jalen Ramsey. When locker rooms were open, and they'll never see that no more, I find it hard to believe in this day and age. I had a chance to talk to Jalen Ramsey. Seems like a down-to-earth, humble kid. He really, really seems like it. And you know what? That's when, obviously, he was a little bit earlier. But you know what? He did get a championship. L.A. served him well, and I hope that he can certainly make an impact for the Miami Dolphins. So, but he seems like a humble kid. You got to remember, at the time when Tom Coughlin was in the front office, and no disrespect to Doug Marrone, that was a toxic situation because of all the things that occurred there. So I'm happy for Jalen. All right, we'll turn it over to Jeremy. Then I do want to get to parting shots. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Jalen Ramsey went to Miami because that's where he wanted to go. He was approached by 6 teams prior to that trade being made, and he turned them all down, telling them, no, I want to be in Miami. So he got what he wanted because that's all he'd accept with that no trade clause in the contract with LA. One of the teams that approached him, Detroit. I'm wearing their gear.
Yeah, Detroit.
And that is why we picked up our top 25 cornerback in Detroit, free agency, man. Cameron Sutton.
Legend at the bank.
All right, I'll turn over to Mel. What do you think about Jalen going to South Florida here, my neck of the woods?
I think that was something the Rams had to do. They needed to get that salary out their books. They got Matthew Stafford on there, for quite a bit. Aaron Donald is heavy on those books as well. They needed to do that so they can get some younger players in there and start to, this rebuilding process or whatever they want to call it. I mean, I guess you're not really rebuilding when you have Matthew Stafford, but he is a turnover machine. Not just a turnover machine, he's a pick 6 machine, which is, it's tough. You're that's a 14-point swing there. But I mean, I think it's good for him. He gets to go to South Florida. I mean, Miami looks like they're trying to build something there. Not real sure about the quarterback because, again, like Jeremy was saying, availability. He's not always available. They do need to, they do need to shore up that backup quarterback position. Teddy Bridgewater is not the answer. I've never been high on Teddy Bridgewater. He's not a guy that's going to take chances. I think Teddy is past his prime. They need to get a serviceable backup quarterback.
Well, they did. I think the guy from the New York Jets, a backup, helped me.
Mike White or White? Yeah.
He's a Pembroke Pines native, actually. So they did sign him.
And thank you, Scott, for bringing that up. That was a great job by them. They did 2 things. They shored up their backup position, and they made sure the Jets had to go do something.
Yeah, no, that was actually done a couple of days ago, Mel. But
I remember that.
Yeah, no, that's okay, Mel. I mean, I have to say
that's why you're here.
Yeah, that helps a little bit. It doesn't hurt that I'm on the Miami Dolphins media distribution list either. So, we get a lot of the stuff firsthand from ourselves. So, all right. With that said, Candy, give me your thoughts about Jalen Ramsey. Then we are going to parting shots.
Good for him. I mean, he was a Florida State boy. So he's, he was in Florida before. Obviously, Jacksonville had him for a while. It was very toxic at the time when he left, which, so good for him. And I'm excited to see what Miami's going to do. I mean, yes, with the quarterback situation, we don't know, but they're assembling. There's some teams out there that I'm excited to watch and see how they'll do this year. And Miami's one of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Dolphins are working hard to try to get in the playoffs. I know the only thing that prevented them from getting into playoffs last year was Tua not being healthy all year. Tua had to show substantial improvement, which is why his 5th-year option did get picked up. So, yeah, I guess I'm pretty curious and anxious and hope the Dolphins do pretty well. All right, with that said, we're going to go to our parting shots. All right, Travis, do you want to go first or last?
Yeah, I go first. Let's knock this thing out.
I'm kidding with you.
I know I'm always first. Yeah, let's do it. As a parting shot, I wanted to discuss those NFL proposed rule changes coming up for the next owners meeting. Now we have a few of them I thought were interesting. I just wanted to discuss the 4th and 20 replacing onside kicks is kind of the thing that was taken from the XFL. It seems, at least, that NFL seeing how successful that was for them, so that maybe they're looking into potentially picking something along those lines up. I would be very interested if they would, but I have doubts that would happen this year. They may want to see it, another season in the other league first before picking it up. They wanted more reviews on roughing the passer, and the Lions apparently proposed 3 rules that I didn't know about until earlier today. They wanted to expand the coach's challenge system to include personal fouls called on the field. They wanted to provide the clubs more opportunities for a third challenge. And also, they wanted to amend the rule to expand the replay officials' jurisdiction to allow for basically better consultation regarding penalty assessment. They wanted to be able to talk their way out of penalties, is what it sounded like. Go. I
know what they said.
So I thought some of these rule changes that were proposed were, some of them were like legitimately interesting, because at least that's kind of how we got to the whole extra point being taken aback. I mean, they had to try it out in the preseason a few seasons ago, and then eventually they actually implemented it into the season. So I know the NFL is a more conservative league. It's going to take them some time to get these things working. So I guess the XFL is having a positive impact on the league. At least they're talking about it pretty quickly. The next season right after seeing that. So hopefully we implement some of these things and keep this league exciting.
Okay, Jeremy.
Okay, first in the rebuttal to that, on that one rule change about the discrepancies in the penalties, what they want to implement is a sky judge. Just like they do in the USFL, the XFL, and also in the AAF, the defunct league that quit last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was.
What? So he can override the refs on the calls on the field in case they get it wrong?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay.
That's what they want to implement, and they want it limited to a 30-second replay. That way it's like a more instantaneous reaction. It's not going underneath the hood for 5 to 15 minutes and having to do all the commercial breaks. I think it actually makes a lot more sense. I love that idea. But my parting shot has to do with our last subject because I brought him up. Cameron Sutton was such a great pickup for Detroit. When they couldn't get their guy in Ramsey because he turned them down, they said, fine, go to Miami. Bye. You don't want to be here? Bye. They got Cameron Sutton. Cameron Sutton posted the lowest QBR against of any corner since 2016, and that was Richard Sherman.
Wow.
44.6% QB completion percentage against in targets last year. He gave up 32 catches to 76 targets.
Okay. That's pretty good. Learn something. All right, Mel, what's your parting shot?
Well, I kind of alluded to it. I don't want to say it's collusion, but you kind of see what's going on. You have a prior MVP quarterback who is basically free. I mean, 2 number 1 draft picks compared to what was given up from Matthew Stafford. I mean, that's not a big ask, and he's in the prime of his career, and we don't see a whole lot of activity. Now, people talk about because he doesn't have an agent, it doesn't have anything to do with him having an agent or not having an agent. Mm-hmm. It has to do with the fact that, we're talking about Jackson, the African-American quarterback. This is going to be the face of your franchise, and not a lot of teams are comfortable with that, it seems. Not a lot of owners are, I think they're trying to reset the market. And again, Lamar is a poster child because the salaries for quarterback are getting outrageous. When you're paying a guy $50 million a year to play that position, it really hampers your ability to do other things on your team. It really hampers team building. Mm-hmm. When you look at the teams that have paid their quarterback an extraordinary amount of money, and look how they struggled. I mean, Seattle, they're happy to get rid of Russell Wilson because they paid him that money that they paid him. Denver's going to have they're going to have a hard time, team building. You're going to have to be very, very good drafting and developing your young players if you're going to pay a quarterback that kind of money, because you're not going to have a lot of depth, not a lot of quality depth on your football team. Look at Green Bay. They're having problems. You pay him all that money, you got problems. Pat Mahomes, he's special. He's just special. Kansas City does everything the right way. They draft well. They get rid of their players when they need to get rid of them. They pay the players that they need to pay. keep him around. They did have to get rid of Tyreek, but look what they brought in. They got a guy off the trash heap from the Giants, I believe it was the Tony, I believe the wide receiver they got. Yeah, I mean they do things the right way. So it's disappointing. Again, I think Lamar might have overplayed his hand. I mean, I think he might have misread the market, misread things. The timing is just bad. Got the wrong team too that he's playing chicken with. This isn't Jerry Jones. It was Jerry Jones. He'd give him the money. He'd cave in. He caved in with Zeke. He caved in with Dak. This is not Jerry Jones. Their owner is not going to cave in. He's got his heels dug in. This is what he's going to pay because he's got the blueprint. He's got 2 Super Bowls. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He won 2 Super Bowls. See, Jerry thinks he won those Super Bowls back in the 90s. Jimmy Johnson won those Super Bowls. He built those teams. Right. Jerry doesn't know how to team build. Jimmy Johnson knows how to team build. So Bisciotti, he knows what it takes. Their blueprint hasn't changed. Just like the Pittsburgh, that blueprint hasn't changed. They still play 3-4 defense. They're going to play good defense. They want to run the football. They want to have a quarterback that's capable.
Well, the only thing I'll add to that, Mel, is Johnson built those teams, and Barry Switzer got a free ring over it with the third one. So it was all Jimmy Johnson. All right, Katie, give me your parting shot. And then I have 2, but one of which you guys can comment on. Go ahead, Katie.
So I know this is inside the pigskin. We're supposed to be talking football, but how do you not talk March Madness when it's going on right now?
Go Bruins.
We've already seen Arizona went down. We saw Virginia go down. Like those people, the teams that we're going to do it aren't. If you're not watching, you're missing out because there's a lot of games. There's games that have been decided by 2 points already. Watch, enjoy. This is a time of year you could, but between NFL free agency, which you'll hear about all that going on, watch some good basketball games.
So it's Bruins. Go Bruins.
All right. Well, now you continue to read my mind. I do have a Bruins parting shot, though, which I'll give you the chance to only comment on. And then I have another one that everybody can comment on. First of all, UCLA's Chip Kelly signed an extension through 2027. Glad to see the Bruins have some stability there. Chip's done a really good job. So, and guess what? Welcome to the Big Ten, Chip. So, anything you want to add to that, Mel?
Yeah, I saw he got that extension. He's done a good job. I mean, he's brought us back to relevance. We get a new quarterback coming in there this year. We had that last guy for 7 years, and we get a new guy this year. So we'll see what they're going to do. They build upon. Got to beat SC. I mean, that's the big thing. We didn't beat USC last year. That's tough. But you got to beat USC. That's we can lose all the other games. We have to beat USC. Period.
Well, yeah, I've always thought that Chip Kelly was a much better college coach and a pro coach. It's evident, but I'm glad he found a spot over in Southern California. Now I have one parting shot that everybody can comment, and you'll understand why. All right, the XFL wants to start a union? Seriously? Well, let me just say this. In the eyes of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. All right. The XFL and union, let's just see if you can get through a full season and even a second one before you guys think you're going to start a union. If that isn't the most laughable parting shot I've ever had, I don't know what one is. This is laughable. All right, Travis, give me a quick comment on this one.
Well, that one's curious because I understand why there's hesitancy in discussing them having a union, while also fully understanding why they may need one. That's a weird one for me because I know generally unions would negotiate some favorable terms as far as injuries and settlements, taking care of the players and all those kinds of things, and that's why I'm like, I see why they need it though. There's hundreds of players, maybe I don't know how many teams there are overall, but there's hundreds of players who probably want to make sure they're taken care of if this thing does build into something else. And that's the way that you build. You structure it so that it can grow, right? Like if you get 3 and 4 years into the future, then you're having to remake this thing. on the fly, if that makes sense. So if you're going to get a union, you want to get that union within that first year to 2 years so you can actually create this foundation so that it can grow right and negotiate that early, if that makes sense.
Yeah, let's survive 1 year, and the word premature should be hashtagged on this one. That's all. I'm not saying 2, 3, 4 years once it shows a little longevity, but
Right.
through the end of the first year of a restart for a league that's gone down twice under the leadership of Vince McMahon. What are your thoughts, Jeremy? It looks like you're getting red over this one, or are you? I don't know.
I think The Rock is trying to do it right. He's not trying to let them do all those stupid nicknames on their jerseys. He's not letting them. They're trying to build something here. I like what they did with the teams being set up the way they are. Like 2 teams have each stadium as a home team. But in all actuality, the Philadelphia team is actually a little further than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh would have been the better choice to be out of Detroit,
right?
In my opinion, because then they could have grabbed the other East Coast team and put it with Philly and Philly.
Right. Well, they need a geography lesson, but that's
they do.
But I'm not questioning Danny Garcia or The Rock. I'm talking about a union when we haven't even seen the finish of a season in a third reincarnation. Morris had 9 lives. The XFL's on its third. So, all right, Mel, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what good is a union if you don't have a league?
Right. That's true. Okay. That's fair enough. Candy?
For the 2020-23 season, the 8-team XFL will employ about 475 athletes who play a 10-game regular season schedule, followed by a 4-team playoff for the league championship. The first game was played on February 18th, and the championship will be held on May 13th. That's not a lot of 475 athletes. Yes, it's, do they want fair and working conditions? I get it, but you got to have more time, more seasons under your belt, I think, before you.
And I think that's why they're only renting the 4 stadiums.
Right.
For the 8 teams. I mean, if you think about it, that makes a lot more sense to make 2 teams share that rental fee.
Even what USFL did. I mean, what they were just in 2 locations, right? A north location and a south location. I thought that was a great idea. As opposed to all those travel expenses.
I think the USFL, if I remember right, were in Birmingham at 2 stadiums, if I remember correctly. I think they had UAB Stadium and then they had Legion Field, if I remember right.
But that's a good way to do it, to cut your travel costs down.
No, I'm not questioning with their business philosophy about the fact that they've gone to, obviously the USFL has gone to now 4 stadiums and subsequently. Right. I'm not going to question any of that. All I'm saying, the XFL hasn't even finished their first year of reincarnation here, and we'll see what the expansion is to see if there's more players. I think it makes sense, but not now talking about it. Really?
Well, hear me out on this though. It could have nothing to do with money. Like it could legitimately have nothing to do with money and can have everything to do with just the inconsistencies across teams. Right. Like it can be as simple as that. Like, hey, this team has, I don't know, physical therapists and massages, in their treatment as far as that's concerned, while my team just has like ice baths outside. And like it could be just, hey, we need someone to negotiate on all of our behalf just to get some consistency from team to team. It can be as basic as that. And maybe they just want some like the NFL has, like the NCAA has, like all these other organized sports. They generally have some sort of bare minimum standard. And maybe it's not related to football. Maybe it's just related to the care that they're getting and things of that nature.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll just conclude the subject with a TBD to be determined or TBC to be continued. Go ahead, Dan.
So on March 10th, there's an article that went out and it says the United Steelworkers, USW, today said that professional football players have filed a petition for a representation election with Region 16 of the National Labor Relations Board on behalf of roughly 475 athletes. They're saying they want, they're organizing and bargaining collectively for better wages, benefits, and working conditions is the surest way for players to achieve security and stability in their lives and their careers.
Okay.
So that's what they're looking for.
I mean,
Well, you know what?
That's the minor leagues. They got to get to the majors.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I was just about to say that. They got to
Does the minor league have a union?
No, but
No.
MLB's actually
No.
no, but Major League Baseball though is actually taking the minor leagues, and now as part of I don't know if you knew this, Mel, but I've been following up on this. You know, and they've been
complaining about their working conditions as of late.
Well, minor league baseball, I get it. I mean, but now I think that MLB's union, Tony Clark, doesn't mind bringing the minor leaguers in, but that'll be for another day. But
they don't have a union though. The minor leagues do not.
Well, they do. They're part of the major league union now.
Well, yeah, now. Well, the major leagues represents, their I guess they're on their behalf.
The interest, yeah.
But their interest, correct.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, it's getting up, but I just thought when this came across my desk.
But they're not a part of the union, though.
Well, no, I think they are actually an MLB. I don't know. We'll find out. But
next time.
Not on the big show.
Yeah, no,
Major League Baseball, not minor league baseball.
Well, as to my understanding, no, I know you are, but I'm just telling you, I'm very serious about it because I read up on it, and we have a baseball show that we've talked about it before. So, but we'll see. But meanwhile, I think it's just an intriguing topic about the XFL unionized too quick. That's all I brought it up for. So, and why not give a shout out to
they're putting the cart in front of the horse.
I don't know. Go figure. I'm not a labor guy. It's all right, Candy, take us home.
Travis and Jeremy and I were talking about, unionizing here.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes.
That one definitely got past me.
Pay, wages.
Yeah.
Yes. I need I need at least 2 Reese's Pieces. That's bare minimum.
You know what? Hey, Mel, here's
Man, you're underselling yourself, sir.
Hey, you know what? Mel?
He needs an agent.
Wait. Travis, you talked about losing weight. Maybe you need bacon.
You need an agent.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, Mel, I think I know how we can get you some compensation after all. You know what that is?
What's that?
We're gonna have you come to the Black Rock Bar and Grill either in Heartland, Michigan or Fort Lauderdale, and maybe my brother will splurge into the company money and give you an appearance fee because he really likes watching you on the.
You already took me to the Big Chicken once. I was talking about Jeremy and Travis.
No, but I'm telling you, Mel, I'm serious. My brother is a fan of yours. My dad even asked whether your dad was alive. And my brother said, Mel Farr Jr. is really good on your show. So
just tell him the checks will keep coming. The checks will keep coming.
Hey, you never know. My brother is a shrewd businessman. He could probably give me an appearance.
I think I need to be Travis's agent here. I need my 10%. He needs more than 2 Reese's Pieces. I'm pushing.
All right. Well, that's fine. Okay.
I appreciate you.
Then go to the Reese's Pieces.
Jeremy, 2 eggs.
Hey, no. Man, that'll get you though. Those 2 eggs, and after inflation, that's gonna be worth something.
Yep. Hey, Mel, you know what? If my brother doesn't compensate you money, I guarantee you one thing: he'll give you plenty of gift cards, and he'll give you appetizer cards, and you can eat the best steak on the planet, my friend.
There we go.
There's nothing like a good steak under a 755-degree lava volcano rock. So there you go.
That's true. I haven't had one in a while.
Well, come on down. My brother will make sure you are comped in a big way, brother. All right. Well, now that I'm getting hungry talking about this, and I know I'd like to eat steak, but I don't want to continue to eat my words anymore. I'm going to go ahead and let Candy go ahead and take us home. Go ahead, Candy. The floor is yours.
So you see that little red subscribe button? Please hit it, share us, like us, tell all your friends about these shows. Listen to us, find us on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. Go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can find even Jeremy's ratings on that. If you want to listen to us, you can listen to us on Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to be a guest on the show and you have ideas, send us some topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you want to sponsor or advertise, call Scott, 954-304-4941. Catch him on Twitter @Tribune South.
All right. With that said, okay, now's the time where everybody has an opportunity to find out how they get hold of. But we've been leading with you all day, Travis. We're going to lead again. Go ahead, Travis. Let everybody know how they get a hold of you, my friend.
You can get a hold of me on Instagram, Travis D. Holmes, Facebook, Travis D. Holmes also. And on Twitter, Trav likes bacon, because I am that one vegan who also just happens to love eating bacon. Don't judge me. It's working.
Bacon is food of the gods.
There we go, man.
Well,
That's it. It's
the
2 eggs
the
in
extent
one
of my
package of
bacon-
right brand bacon with whatever type of toast he likes. That's what he gets every show.
Okay. Well, the extent of my bacon intake lately is the bacon bits on my omelets, but okay, we'll take those. All right, go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, you can find me, as Candy said, on the SouthFloridaTribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading, where you can find my writings along with Scott's. Candy might even throw something in every now and then. And you'll see this guy by the name of George Eichhorn as well. That being said, you can also find me on this YouTube channel, because if Scott says, "Hey, Jeremy, can you be on the show?" 99.9% of the time, I say yes. And then my channel, Kneecap Biting with Smoking Jeremy B on YouTube, where I talk the NFL on Wednesdays on the NFL Roundtable Talks, and I also talk Detroit Lions on Fridays with the Lions Fan Cave Chat. I try to have guests every show because I like it to be interesting. I do the 3 top news stories every week for each show.
And if you ever need a recommendation, Jeremy, to go to the second city in Chicago and Detroit, I'll be more than happy to get you there, pal. All right, go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media at Melfar Jr. And you can watch or follow what we have going on for the youth here in Atlanta and also up in Detroit at melfar.org.
Very good. Well, Candy said all of our information, so she does an unbelievable job on the whole platform. So we're eternally grateful. You know, Candy, you could go ahead and put a plug in for all your shows with your girls too. Go ahead before we wrap it up.
Tuesday nights, 7:30. It's either Chicks and Salsa or 3 Chicks in a Bod.
And I do some stuff with Sideline Sports as well, Basket Bros as well as Fun It. So they're a very good partner of ours, led by JB Ellis and the rest of the group. So meanwhile, on behalf of Candy Ebling, Travis Holmes, and MCDC, a.k.a. Jeremy Ballreck, and my running back friend, brother, etc., Melfar Jr., I want to thank you very much for joining us on this extended edition of Inside Depiction. Why is it longer? Well, right now, at the moment, during the off season, we're doing them twice a month. We want to make sure we're stacked to give you all the information that you can handle. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you in approximately 2 weeks for another edition of Inside Depiction. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend. God bless, and continue to look for updates when we put our programming notes out there. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Spade neuter your pet.